Did you guys grow up knowing that you were always going to work on the farm?
No, I definitely thought I would never come back to this area or at the farm, but no, I'm sure glad I did.
Yeah.
So I went to school and then I went to teach English in Korea for a couple of years with my wife, and we went backpacking for a while, and even at that time I didn't think I'd be coming back, but then I came back and my wife went back to school, and I was debating whether to go back to school, and I started a farm with Lisa and was loving it, so decided to stay.
What about you, Lisa?
Yeah, absolutely not. So you said you didn't grow up in in that kind of setting.
That too.
So if you come from a family farm, chances are you spent your entire summers working on that farm, and probably a lot of weekends. So you spent your weekends or after schools picking up brush, picking up drops. We worked in the potato packing house the entire summer. So we worked a lot on the farm, and not the best jobs on the farm, So we wanted to get, I wanted to get as far away from the farm as possible as well. And so I left and did a couple different things. I went to school for travel and tourism, was a travel agent for a little while.
Wow.
And then somehow managed back at the farm and tried. I told you the orchard manager had left, and then I really didn't have any experience in the orchards at all. I hadn't even driven a tractor before. I mean, we worked on the farm, but we didn't do things like that. So I took on that position, and I said I'd give it 1 year and see if I liked it, and if I liked it, I would stay. Loved it.
No way.
Yeah, still loving it most days. Yeah.
So what's it like being the youngest brother out of so many generations here on the farm?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, we all get along, so it's, I don't know, yeah, we all work together, and we all have different roles, and it all works. And I work a little bit more with, some seasons we work with like Katie a little bit more, and some with my dad, and others a lot with William and Lisa. So it just depends on the season. So I kind of get jumbled around to different sections. When I was 10, I was picking up brush. I was digging some potatoes by hand, and I don't know, it gives you good work ethic early on, and that's what I hope for my kids, is just to show them a little bit of how to grow things, and they can choose if they want to try it or do something different.
So did you leave and come back like your brothers and sisters and cousins had?
Yes, yeah, I left I've only been back for 5 years now, so I did social work, and I worked with youth for quite a few years. Yeah, I was in Halifax in Ontario, and it was just good time to move back, and then get married and get established here. So, yeah.
Get on the way, really established.
So right now we're located in our farm market that's here at the main farm. We're located in Melbourne Square, and this is where all the main action happens right now, where we have our potato packing facility here, and we have our shop here, and where a lot of our equipment is. This is kind of where everything starts, and then we go out from here, and we do many different things. We have our orchards surrounding Melbourne Square, and we also have some more property a little bit down the road that we're in the midst of building a brand new farmer's market and tap room.
Oh wow, nice. So you're expanding.
We are expanding.
Oh, that's exciting. So speaking of expanding, you're actually the 5th generation of the family in the firm?
I am.
Wow,
yeah.
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's been in the family since 1875. So my great-great-grandfather, Shippy, started the farm back with 62 acres of land, and he started back with some few animals and some apples, and then from there we've expanded, and now we're farming over 800 acres of land now.
Wow. Where's the real good ones, William? Where do we want to go?
Right here. This is where we want to go. So when you're picking, you got to pick half of this row and half of this row. Usually the stem comes right with it, and then in some varieties the stem stays on it, other varieties it'll come right off. This one, yeah, it stays on.
I want to make sure I'm not hurting future crops.
No, you are hitting everything right.
Oh,
right now.
Look at that beauty. So because you're all responsible for different things. You said you do the orchard, so how do you decide who covers what area? Because it's a lot, I imagine, in the acres that you have.
You go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been here the longest, so...
Does that actually give you seniority? We're like, I want this.
No, that's just what was available at the time, was orchard. So I came back because the orchard manager left, and they were looking for someone to replace him. And so I stepped into that role. And so I've been doing that for just over 20 years now, looking after the orchards. So, and then Katie, my cousin, came on the farm, and she had taken office administration course, and so she looks after all the stuff that William and I don't want to look after. All the paperwork, all the payroll. She looks after all the office stuff, and she looks after the market and the U-pick here as well. And then William got fortunate enough to look after all the field crop side of things because there was, that position needed to be filled later on. So, yeah, so we all just kind of have our separate areas, but we overlap a lot too, especially William and I, where we're dealing with the fields and all the issues that come with that, and we're sharing crews as well. So we're talking every day about things, and come look at this, and I'll say come look at this, and actually I have something you need to look at. So there's a lot of crossover in our positions, and then my dad is the mechanic on the farm, and he looks after all that kind of stuff, and then my brother John kind of does a little bit of everything for us here at the farm. He does a little bit in the shop doing the mechanics, and he does some of the field work as well, so whatever else we need done kind of on the farm.
And do you ever swap? Are you like, okay, you know what? I've been doing orchards for 20 years. I want in on fields now. I'm fields. Is there ever a change, or are you just like in this role for life?
Yeah, it's a lifer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're learning.
I love how resigned it sounds. Yeah, I know.
It would be a lot to learn. It's like we're learning a lot all the time, and to switch things up I would not want that. It was good to do 10 years ago, but it's like I don't want to learn a whole new thing right now. But yeah, and then when we first started too, it's like when I first started, it's like I was doing everything that nobody else wanted to do. Yep. And so then it's like you kind of figure out what you do want to do by doing that too. And so we pick our own sections, and like John, brother, he's doing everything right now, and he's leaning more towards the mechanic side of stuff because that's what he's more interested in doing.
Okay.
And so I was more interested in growing stuff, and so I kind of latched on to her, and she showed me how to grow stuff.
So I'm curious, was Shippy Spurr your father?
Would be my great grandfather. Yes, it'd be Shippy. Then
Shippy was the original. That's right.
That started it, and it'd be his William Spurr, original.
Yeah.
And then my father's Lawrence.
That is one of the coolest names I've ever heard. It sounds like a Hollywood movie character.
Yeah, he was like, from what I gathered, he was a true military. He had swords. I actually have a sword of his, and wow, it's pretty neat. It's the pictures, and stuff. So no, it goes back quite a ways. There's no question.
That's awesome. It's been really neat for us to talk to the different generations of your family on the farm.
Yes.
Is it kind of crazy for you to watch how your kids are taking the farm now?
Oh, it is. It's just like from back when my brother and I were here, took over from our father, and through that now the kids are taking over and seeing what the new ideas they have. It's incredible to see what they're doing. I'm more the nuts and bolts, like I did the mechanic work, when I planted potatoes, you did a straight row, or, but now they get into this GPS stuff, which they understand. I have a little more of a struggle trying to, with the computer, like when the mechanics come, they bring their laptops and set the tractor down, and it's usually computer related or something that's malfunctioned and stuff. So sort of the days of getting the wire and bandaging things up it's still there somewhat. What we used to make off maybe 50 acres of potatoes, we're growing 200 acres just because of the involvement of things.
So was your career path like your kids have been, where you grew up on the farm, then left the farm and came back, or was your career on the farm?
It pretty much was on the farm. I did leave for a short time, went to Ontario, worked out in the Nanticoke project and the oil refinery, and found that just didn't excite me. And so I came back and worked. Like my parents, or my father wasn't very mechanically inclined. And also, I don't know how I picked up on it, but so I sort of kept the farm running. So I had my own sort of division, and that's how it just kind of evolved.
It must seem like there's a lot of new stuff happening, but you must have had that. Your father must have thought that when you were working here, more on the ground level, like your kids are, because for a business to last 5 generations, that's a rare thing. Well,
it is, and I mean, some of the older varieties, my parents, they had some of the first Macintosh trees, which now, like I don't know if we have many Macintosh here at all. It's all the newer varieties, and some of the newer varieties, they definitely have the taste and the crispness.
Do you have a favorite kind of apple?
I do. I like mine would be, I guess, the Ambrosia. It's a smaller apple. I mean, it has a little taste to it. I mean, the Honeycrisp is nice, but I just find the Ambrosia.
Honeycrisp is my favorite.
I was like, Honeycrisp fans over here.
and that's why we grow so many different types. And
so, being part of such a long-established farm, it's been here for over a century.
Yeah.
What do you see as the future of this farm going forward?
Oh, that's a tough one. It feels like every year we're changing just a little bit, and I feel like that's how you have to approach farming, is that you cannot stay the way it is, because there's always something to learn, something different to try, and like we are developing as we go. You never know exactly what you get yourself into until you try something new.
So this is the current and ongoing project for you guys right now?
Yeah, this is kind of where we're moving a lot of our focus to. And so the new market, we've kind of outgrown the one that's at the farm, and so it's a little bit bigger here. And then we'll have a tap room here with a patio on the back and having a pavilion over here, and then ice cream takeout windows.
Oh, perfect.
Nice.
Great for a day like today.
Plan is the parents have cider and the kids have ice cream and get to run around and pick whatever they want. So.
People with no kids get to have both.
Yeah. We're in business.
Hey, high five. We'll be so sugared.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. So, yeah, this is a really great symbol for what the future of Spurr Brothers Farm is going. It's not just in the fields. Now you're bringing it to family destinations.
Yeah, that's what our plan is, to make it more of a destination. We got blueberry you pick. We got apple you pick. The apple and blueberries won't be ready for a couple of years. It'll take a couple of years for them to fruit. But then apples, pears, peaches.
We had about 200 acres of potatoes that we were growing commercially, and until this year. So if people ask you about potato farmers in the valley, you know, there's only a couple of us, so our name would generally come up. And we pack our own potatoes as well as grow it. So we were kind of getting to the point where we had to make some decisions about where we're going to invest our money. And it's very difficult to invest in something like we were talking before about a commodity type crop that doesn't have very large margins at all. And we just, you know, we said, do we want to invest our money there in buying new equipment, more equipment, or do we want to invest it somewhere else? And this next generation is really interested in this side of the business, and of course the cider side of the business. And so we decided to take a big leap and do this, which is kind of in our wheelhouse because we do the farm market, but the whole tap room and the whole destination experience is really going to be a bit of a learning curve for us. We use all the old wood from the farm up in the old barn and planed it all. And so it's mostly like maple. Yeah. So it's kind of got like a story to it too, right? Like
family history is a new space as well.
Yeah.
People are going to have the opportunity to actually see apple trees, and like actually, like, who doesn't want to go pick an apple? Or
exactly.
You know, it's like pick some sunflowers, or like you get a pumpkin. It's just like, it's instead of going to like the big cardboard box and just picking one, it's like, oh, there's some in the field.
100. I would much rather go to the field and pick my pumpkin in the fall than go and pick it out of the bin at a grocery store.
Yeah.
And that's the same for apples. And like we said earlier, I'd never pulled an onion out of the ground. I feel like that would be really fun. To people that didn't experience it, it's really neat.
Yeah.
Oh, the smell of onions is like the great, like in the fall, it's like you have the smell of like onions, apples, and like potatoes, and it's just like an aroma that you cannot, like that's what I love. It's just like when everything's going out, like hustle and bustle, and like apples are going this way, onions are going that way, potatoes are getting packed. It's just like, just a neat experience.
That's the one for you.
Yeah, yeah.
You see more corporate farms, and
I didn't know that was a thing, corporate farms.
It is, and that's where, you know, and then travels like we, fruit grower trips, they organize trips we go down to the States, and it's just massive, you know, and it is a different, I mean, when you can do it at that scale, but like we're just almost like a hobby farm here because of the, you know, size. I mean, what we have, we do very well at, but it's at a different scale.
How was it received when you're like, so I'd like to start making cider through the farm?
Well, I started to make cider like 10 years ago in my basement, and I just played around with it, and always was, like, we have 16 different varieties on the farm, and so just started playing a lot with that. And when I first mentioned about doing it on the farm, it wasn't not well received, but it wasn't well received either. It's right in the middle, and so Mom and Dad had a couple question marks about selling cider on the farm, but they were soon okay with it. And everybody else was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So how do you decide what goes into your flavors? Because you have an impressive roster of varieties out there.
It's a lot of trial and error. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I don't have my strawberry one here, but my strawberry rhubarb paskip one was going to be 2 different ciders, and I wasn't real happy with either of them. And then after I blended them together, I was really excited about it. And so, and the same with it's all been trial and error right now, and it's just a lot more trial and error than what I would like to do, but it still worked out well. The pear one, I wanted full perry, and it just wasn't, the flavor wasn't there. I wasn't real happy with it, so I just kept on adding a little bit of apple cider to it until I got the right blend. So, and it turned out that it's like 50% apple, 50% perry. I was really excited about it. This is a great starting point, and everything's still done manually. So I got my tanks to ferment and age out of, and then I got a bottler that we're bottling everything by hand. And that's kind of why I have 500 ml bottle. I'd like to have something a little bit smaller, but then it would take a lot more time to bottle it by hand. And then capping it and labeling it. So
you're doing the entire operation.
Doing everything, and that's why it's small batches. But right now I really like doing small batches. And so I can do a lot of different ciders doing small batches. And so, but the plan is to hopefully get a little bit bigger tanks and go from there.
There's probably not a lot of places that make cider that actually grow their own ingredients. Like, you're literally like the farm to table of cider.
Farm to bottle.
Farm to bottle.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot. There's a couple in Nova Scotia and more out there, but yeah, there's not a whole lot to do it from beginning to kind of the end.
Interesting.
I'm very excited what they're doing. Like, who'd have thought that we'd be in the cider business? And the new systems on the apple trees, the way the trellis work, and how many trees. Like my father, when we started doing like 40 trees to the acre, now we're planting 2,000 trees to the acre.
Wow.
You know, just on
Huge
they're on
difference.
huge is right. And you know, with we have picking aids where now the rows have to be exactly straight, so you're using GPS. So I mean, I find that very exciting, and you know, just trying to come up with an easier way of doing things, like picking. You're not climbing through trees and falling out of trees. Like you can. You know, with the picking aids, it steers itself, so you have one less person that has to, you know, and just the crop loads on the trees. It's just, yeah, it's been great seeing what they have.
This is what I have on tap in my house.
You have it on tap in your house? I love that. I mean, of course you do. Why wouldn't you?
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers to your hard labor.
That's what I hoped
I was
it would
going
be.
to say,
That's really good.
And I mean, people, I think, are going to wake up someday and find we're not going to have that cheap food source that we've been used to, and it's going to have an effect on our daily lives. I'm thinking, you know, climate change to the You know, it's more mindful now what we're putting back into the soils and how we're farming it.
Yeah, family farming is definitely sustainable, but what we need to have is we need to have consumers behind us, we need to have the public behind us, we need to have government behind us. I don't know if a lot of people realize, like, for a lot of our crops, which are considered commodity type crops, you know, like your potatoes, your carrots, your onions, those type of crops, you know, we have limited marketplaces. You're talking a few major chains that they go to. We don't decide the price on those things. So even though our costs will go up hugely this year due to fuel and fertilizer prices, we're not going to be able to recoup that. So if this continues for years, you know, it won't be sustainable. It absolutely won't be. But I'm hoping, and we're all hoping, that, you know, we're just riding this and things will get back a little more to what we consider normal, and that farmers will still be around to continue providing food. But it is fairly, you know, critical this year, especially. I think a lot of farms are going to really struggle. I mean, it's not going to be easy for our farm either, you know, like just, you know, everyone's filling up their cars thinking, oh my goodness, it's costing me, you know, over, you know, $125, $150 to fill up my, you know, we're filling up, you know, those tractors a lot. And then we're also trying to irrigate to help supplement what we're not getting from the sky. So, you know, we're going through a lot of fuel, so it gets really expensive. So, and that's part of the reason why we're diversifying into a lot of things that we're doing too, right? Because we can't just rely on one area of the farm to be able to, you know, carry us. We need to have different facets of the farm, different things that we're doing, and hopefully that will, you know, we're trying to mitigate our own risk by doing that. But we also need help from the outside to say, okay, yeah, we think farming is important, we think food security is important, and if the public and the government think that those things are important, then farming will absolutely be sustainable. But we can't do it by ourselves. We need everybody's support on it.
Oh my God. He's right. Fresh off the vine. Perfect.
But the good thing about working with families, we can call each other names and we don't care that much. Like, I don't.
And HR doesn't need to get involved.
No, it's like.
HR? Oh God, who handles HR in your family?
She can be very blunt or whatever, and it doesn't matter because half the time I'm not listening anyway. So it works out really well. So no, we get along, and yeah, no, it's different though because we work every day, and then even last weekend we had a family birthday party, and so on our day off we still had to see each other. So
Yep.
That's amazing. I picture you guys like Soprano style, where like all the heads of each department have to come to the table and be like, all right, this is what I got going on, what do you got going on, and then like divide the resources amongst yourselves.
That's pretty much it. And that's why I started making hard cider too, just to deal with the family more. So
it's a coping mechanism. Love it.